What is a job that requires little effort, but pays very well? My brother-in-law is a security guard for a mineral mine. Mostly walks around and reads books. He calls himself a paid witness in case a crime occurs. Makes good money for a decently leisurely job. Security guard in any remote area pays well but is very boring. Heck, even security guards in the city don't do a whole lot of work. So many times they are caught sleeping. Definitely not a full-time job, but the local police department gave my buddy some money, then brought him to a bar, fed him booze, and then gave him a field sobriety test, gave him more drinks, more tests, and then eventually dropped him off at his house. I forget the title, but basically escort at government facilities that require a security clearance. Pays like 80 to 90K, and all you have to do is walk non-cleared people like, say, the janitor, around the building and make sure they don't steal anything. If you can pass a detailed background check, you're in. Apparently being one of my coworkers, since we carry the workload like freaking champs. Drawbridge operator. The job itself is crazy easy, it's literally a button pusher, and there's no prerequisite training or experience. Our local operator just retired, and because he was town employee, his salary was public knowledge. Pulled down 6 figures every year for 45 years. Note: there is obviously massive responsibility and professionalism required, so I'm not dragging anyone that does it. So, define little effort. I work in mining, which can be hard work. But if you start in heavy equipment operation, it isn't. You drive with limited other traffic, or you sit with a joystick and load trucks. It usually starts at $30 per hour but can be as low as $20. And you usually get really long weekends. 5 on 5 off. 7 on 7 off. 28 on 14 off. 14 on 14 off. To get into specialized stuff it takes skill, but to drive a haul truck around all day doesn't. And $60 to $80 an hour if specialized at the right place. With lots of OT. A friend used to be a rice grader. He would go through a warehouse and inspect batches of rice by putting a handful in a tray and seeing how many grains were broken, how consistent they were, and how much non-rice shit was present. I asked him how it was quantified. He said something along the lines of, "IDK man, you just kinda decide?" He had 0 qualifications or experience in the rice field. It paid $25/HR, but that's damn good to just make up the rules of rice grading if you ask me. Saying, "I am Groot," and getting paid $55 million. I could never understand why they got Vin Diesel to do this when you could pay the janitor to do the same thing. At a massage school, I had a job as a massage model. My task was to lie down for a few hours and receive massages while the kids completed their assignments or took their tests. It paid £30 per hour, which isn't much but was better than the previous office job I had, which paid £10. Just to be clear, this wasn't a full-time position. It was only for maybe 3 or 4 months, was quite informal, and probably lasted between 4 and 10 hours a week, depending on how busy the school was that week. Ferrari strategist. Reddit video player developer. Well, it seems like the job is done by a monkey that wasn't paid bananas in years. How can it be that after years it's still thrash? I've been working in corporate America for 20+ years, and I've found that the higher up I move in the company, the less actual work I do. How does one get into corporate America? I feel like that type of job requires one to be charismatic. Majority of people I work with do not have much charisma. Just figure out Excel or SQL if you are feeling adventurous, then apply for an analyst position at a financial institution. Of course, you may need the prerequisites of a college degree and being really good looking. Wastewater or water treatment. Traffic control, aka lollipopping, holding a stop and slow sign up, turning it when necessary. $40 an hour. I'm a barber. School was $18,000 for 1,500 hours of training, 9 months full-time. I spent the first 7 years of my career struggling to learn and produce consistently good work, but now I make $80/HR, about $112,000 annually. My clients and I have a 12-year relationship, and, most days, I feel like I get to hang out and laugh with my friends all day. Hasn't felt like work for the last few years. They leave looking and feeling great, which makes me feel great too. I honestly feel guilty that teachers, nurses, and other vital workers who spent so much time and money on their education often earn 1/2 of what I do. So serious reply. Look into purchasing roles in most corporations. They manage their suppliers, negotiate contracts, place POs, etc. I would say they are optimal in terms of pay per effort. Plus they usually get perks like more travel, holiday goodies from their suppliers, stable work hours, job security, etc. There was a job at Lockheed Martin or Boeing requiring no skills but paid $90,000 annually. Plus their generous 401k and benefits blah blah blah. It was a crazy job. A man would crawl inside a fuel pod for a plane and scrub it out. The pod was very cramped and feels distinctly like being buried alive. So think claustrophobic. The tools were a toothbrush and a flashlight. You had to stay zen because it was super easy to panic and start flailing wanting to get out. They always did it in pairs so your partner talks you out of any situation and keeps you company, and you take turns. Management understood this was a psychologically taxing job. Guy the first knew who did it drank himself to sleep at night. He didn't like the job. One of my buddies who's an X-ray technician said some days he has 1 hour of actual work out of an 8-hour shift. When I commented he's got it good, he said he gets paid for what he knows not what he does. I suspect most jobs that pay you well without much actual work is the same. You are being paid for your expertise. I predict that many of the replies in this discussion will be pointing out jobs that take a significant amount of training, aptitude, connections and leisure time in service to achieve, when they finally culminate into a job that is both lucrative and easy, day to day. My friends give me a hard time because to them I only work 3 to 4 hours a day and make $150,000 a year, database system admin. To me it was 2 years of programming in high school robotics, 4 years of college for a comp sci degree, while doing a 3-year internship, then 6 years of corporate level work after college to get here. So yes, if you take a snapshot of my job right now things might look easy, but to me I've been working 12 years to get here. 20. Overnight concierge at luxury apartment/condo buildings in metropolitan areas. The morning and afternoon shifts you're dealing with incoming packages most of the day, sorting, labeling and fetching them. Overnight barely handles any of that, if at all. It's just a matter of being fine with having a schedule like that or putting up with such a boring job. Pay might not be as well as a lot of the other jobs ITT, but relative to the work performed, it pays you for sitting at a desk from 12 a.m. to 8 a.m. doing next to nothing. Locksmith. Once in a while you'll have to hang a door, but for the most part, it's changing the keys that operate a door lock. It takes a bit of math to calculate which pins drop into the cylinder, especially if there is a master key that also operates the lock, but after you gain some experience, it's easy. For a residential rekey, you simply set up multiple cylinders that work on the same key. You walk up to the door, remove the lock, partially disassemble it, remove the existing cylinder, and replace it with the new one. Then you reinstall the lock. It takes maybe 5 minutes, you're walking up to the house with the cylinders in one hand and a screwdriver in the other. And you're getting paid about $30/HR. Car salesman. I make phone calls in the morning and afternoon 2 hours total, another hour for emails, texts, rest of the time talking to service customers or people who come onto the car lot. This year I'll make $135,000 give or take for talking and nonsense-ting on my phone playing 8-ball pool or Pokemon Go. I used to keep a 3.5 floppy disk on my work file cabinet that said easy jobs that will pay me greater than $100 kelvins. I held it there with a magnet. Took me about a year and a half of shitty work to get into a boiler operator position, and now most days I get to sit around and read books or browse Reddit and just keep an eye on my trends. There are shitty days/weeks here and there, but considering how I spend most of my time and that I make $31 an hour to do it, that's on the low side by the way. Most boiler operators make more, it's definitely worth it. Being a Santa Claus for some families. I mean some families asked me to be Santa for Christmas. Smiley face. Paid me $50 for half an hour. There was an article a few years written by a guy whose job it is to literally watch paint dry for a paint manufacturer. Said it was boring but paid roughly $70K. Do I have to monitor the paint at all times, or can I just check in from time to time? Haven't heard it in a long time, but I think so. He had to watch it for hours under different conditions, humidity/temperature, and give a time that it could be considered dry. If there were issues, he had to note what time it happened. I think he said he looked for problems with new paint drying under different conditions, like different temperatures and humidity, recorded if and when they occurred and when the paint dried. No special education or training. They just couldn't get anyone else to do it, so they had to pay well. He also thought he would probably be replaced by a computer when he decided to move on. Didn't love it, but did his best and thought there were worse jobs for the money. I think it was in the UK, but not sure.